During the 1960s, scholars argued that students of color and students from impoverished communities underachieved because of genetic deficiencies. During the 1970s, however, scholars rejected genetic-based deficit theories. Instead of attributing poor performance to genetic-based deficiencies, these scholars were more liberal. Consistent with their liberal views of the time, they explained that students of color and students from impoverished communities underachieved because of their cultures. From this view, they argued that students of color and students from low-income communities were culturally deficient, which made them culturally inferior to white people in general and culturally inferior to white students in particular. A group of scholars criticized deficit-based theories and offered cultural difference theories. These scholars maintained that instead of forcing students to embrace Eurocentric values, ways of being, instead of trying to change the cultural values, cultural practices, and lived experiences of students, school leaders should use the cultural values of students as tools to engage in the classroom. During the 1990s and 2000s, scholars began to conduct studies rooted in cultural difference scholarship, and they devised culturally responsive teaching theories. Culturally responsive teaching theories contend that many students of color experience cultural clashes in the classroom, indicating that their home and community cultures to the school culture, which contributes to their poor performance. Culturally responsive teaching theories, then, are frameworks that guide educators through the process of mixing the cultural values, community practices, and lived experiences of students with instruction. Unlike racist scholars of the 1960s and 1970s, educators who implement culturally responsive practices believe that all students come from rich cultural backgrounds. They believe that education can prepare students of color to process their lived experiences, including experiences related to racial violence, injustice, and discrimination. They believe that the school curriculum should include the cultural values, lived experiences, and community practices of students, instead of excluding these practices because of deficit-based beliefs.
We want liberty. We want liberty. We want justice.